It's the last Friday of the month, which means today is book club day. If you're new here, every month my apartment complex hosts a book club, and instead of picking a specific book, we pick a theme, and this month's theme was vacation. So here are the 4 books that I will be bringing today. So the first book I'm bringing is Vacations from Hell. Now, this is a collection of young adult short stories. It's a pretty old book. It's from 2009. So some of the authors are like Libba Bray and Cassandra Clare. But it is a collection of 5 short stories, and they are all very like fantasy, supernatural type stories with a bit of a twist. They're very cute, very fun. So you've got things like the first story is a cruise ship where there's thoughts that a vampire is eating or killing people on this cruise. You also have like a fun family beach trip with a little bit of some witchiness going on. Just different stories like that. So they're all very much vacation focused with a little bit of a supernatural fantasy twist. They're quick, they're easy, they're a lot of fun. So if you're definitely looking for something like that and for kind of like a little bit of a throwback, this is definitely going to be a book you're going to enjoy. Next up, we have Something Wild and Wonderful by Anita Kelly. The best way to explain this is it's wild, but make it gay. But we follow in this book Alexi and Ben. Both of them are doing the Pacific North Trail, and they end up just kind of like starting to meet like randomly. They kind of meet at one point, think they're never going to see each other again, and then just keep having these random run-ins with each other. Now, Alexi, or Lex, he's doing this trail because he has kind of had a really bad falling out with his family due to his sexuality. So it's a lot of trying to find himself. His family's very religious. He grew up in a religion. So he's kind of doing this trail to really find who he is with his sexuality and how does he kind of handle that alongside his religious beliefs, and also how does he handle not having this connection to his family anymore. Ben is just very chaotic, fun person. He is also kind of going through some stuff, trying to also figure out what he wants to do in life, but he comes from a very close-knit, chaotic family, and he ends up kind of bringing Lex along the way with him to go meet his family. But it's really beautiful. It's really wonderful. You know, it's a little bit angsty, but I really just kind of really enjoyed this book. I really think I enjoyed one of the parts towards the end without spoiling it too much, but you know, they both kind of go their own way a little bit, and there's some really beautiful moments where they're writing letters to each other. But it's a really wonderful book, very finding yourself, figuring out who you are, and then also you've got the Pacific Northwest, in the background of it. Next up is Conventionally Yours by Annabeth Albert. I have a really great mutual friend. Him and I have been working our way through Annabeth Albert's books, and we both mutually love this book, so very excited to bring it to book club today. But in this book, we follow Conrad and Alden. So they are basically a part of a kind of like a card game group. The best way I can describe the card game is it kind of gives Magic the Gathering vibes, but they're part of this group. This group does a lot of like podcasts and YouTube videos of them all playing. They are now going to a convention, basically I think San Diego Comic-Con basically, where they're going to be playing this game. And so Conrad and Alden are basically going to do this cross-country road trip together to go to this convention. Now, they hate each other. There's no liking of each other. So this is already kind of starting off on like a little bit of a hate kind of trip. Conrad is basically, he is struggling financially. He is going to be using this trip to hopefully get some financing and win and get some money because there is a prize at the end. Alden is neurodivergent, so that does cause some issues for him. He's not really like able to understand the emotions, sarcasm, things that are around him. He's very stringent on the rules, which is kind of where he butts head with Conrad a lot. But he is also hoping to win because his parents, his family basically want him to go into medical school. He does not want to. So anyways, these 2 men, young men, are basically stuck in a car. They make a couple stops to play this card game at some, comic book shops. But slowly along the way, they kind of start to realize that maybe their preconceived notions about each other aren't always accurate. And the last book is Up in Flames by Eden Finley and Saxon James. If you know me, you know I love these 2 together. So in this book, we follow Sandon and Remy. Remy is supposed to be getting married, but his fiance skedaddles and leaves prior to the wedding starting. So Sandon is basically the one who has to go tell Remy this. Now, Sandon has always been in love with Remy. He has always wanted to be with him, but kind of missed his chance, his opportunity. And Remy has been in a relationship that's not been very good. It's been pretty toxic and abusive. And so, you know, once the fiance skedaddles, Sandin and Remy start talking, and Remy realizes he still needs to get away. He wants to get away. So the two of them decide to go on Remy's honeymoon together. Now, obviously, when they are on this honeymoon, because it's a Eden Finley Saxon James book, sparks start to fly. And they do start a physical sort of relationship while they're on this trip. Now, one of the things I absolutely loved about this book is I feel like them coming back from their from their kind of vacation, I feel like it was very realistic. You know, they went on this vacation. It was a very romantic vacation because a lot of the honeymoon things hadn't been canceled. So in a sense, they kind of got, you know, caught up in the moment. But when they come back, they realize that real life is still there. You know, Remy still has to kind of deal with the fallout of not only the dissolution of his relationship with his ex-fiance, but also really coming to terms of how toxic and abusive it really became. Also, the ex-fiance is still around, still causing issues for the two of them. So these two do take a little bit of time apart from each other for Remy to kind of heal and determine what does he want with his life, and also for Sandin to kind of also figure out what he wants. So I really thought that was great. I loved it. I loved that it felt really, like I said, really realistic. When they came back from that trip, they didn't just immediately continue the relationship. They both took that kind of step back to really make sure that they were 100% into it, and that neither of them was jumping in before really thinking about the full consequences. So now I will say, for this book, trigger warning, it does deal with, you know, physical, emotional, and mental abuse from a former partner. It's not too explicit. There is one moment where cops do have to get called in the book. So before you start reading it, just go in knowing that there is a scene like that. So just make sure if that is a trigger or something for you, that this may be a book you have to skip. So those are the books for this month. I've already kind of figured out what our topic is going to be for next month, which I'm really excited about. And I'm really excited to see what everyone brings to book club today.